Hey there. Welcome to another edition of Fozzie's tutorials. Tonight we're going to be doing something that we've done a few times before, but the times I did them before, I feel like the videos just weren't quite right, and so I wanted to do a better and more condensed version where I show you a couple more tricks that will hopefully make this easier for you. It's probably the first coil that you'll make, when you start getting into the more advanced stuff, which would be the 3-core Alien. Tonight's Alien will be a 2636 all nichrome 90. 5 wraps at about either 3 or 3.5 millimeters, and it will ohm out to right around 0.09. And yeah, I'm going to show you a couple of things, one of which are these little guys here, which I make up these ahead of time. What they are is they're various sizes that I use to decore with quite frequently. Let's see, here's 26, which 26 is actually getting a little bit short. Depending on who you talk to, some people say if you're taking 2 wraps off your spool for your length of core, then you need to take 3 wraps off your spool. In other words, your decore stick needs to be 1/3 longer. Now, what I've found is, while it should be a touch longer, it doesn't need to be a full third longer, especially if you're going to try and hand stagger your Alien fuse a little bit. Sometimes that looks really cool, especially if you're using let's say maybe you're going to use 4 cores and your center 2 are going to be Canthal, and then your outer 2 are going to be nichrome 80, and then your staggered fuse is going to be nichrome 90. That slight stagger will make a nice little window in between each fuse line, and when you color them up, they look really nice. That way you see the different the ways that the metal colors differently at different temperatures. And as far as performance goes, I don't know. Sometimes I find that a very slight stagger, especially if you drip. Like, I make my own juice. I add no PG. So, and my nicotine is 100 milligram nic, and it's in a VG solution, so it is also really thick. So my juice comes out really thick, and the more little S-curves and pockets and things like that you got for juice to sit in, the longer it will take to percolate and eventually vaporize before it, well, you know what I mean. It'll sit there just a fraction of a second longer, and while it's heating up, you're getting that pre-vaporized flavor in your mouth, which is really nice. But anyway, back to these. Okay, what I do is, obviously, I put a little tag on there telling you what gauge it is. And I don't go crazy using super expensive swivels, although I try to make my last swivel, which I hook to, I have a little hook on a vise over here, and I try to make that one a stainless steel ball bearing swivel. That way, you always want to have at least 2, better to have 3. Let's see. On the one I use most, I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4, and all but one of them are ball bearing. As a matter of fact, I'll show you real quick. What I've been doing lately is the swivel that I run my cores through, I've been using this end. I always used to use this end, Well, 1, it's not very wide, and 2, when you run your cores through the hole this way, you can then bend your excess around so it's going back toward the rest of the cores in the drill chuck, and then you can simply fold them right underneath the cores, and then you can wrap it 1 or 2 times right around that round part of the swivel. And what that does is it makes the core and the leftover pretty much all even, so that there's no weird slack or one core isn't a little bit looser than the rest of them, you know. And generally you can fix all that just by tugging on your drill a little bit anyway. But I've just been finding that that these work the absolute best. I'm not even sure what they're called, but I mean, any, you know, Walmart, any bait and tackle. I mean, if you want to go nuts and go to Bass Pro Shops like I did, I ordered them online, and I think it was like $5 to get 3 ball bearing swivels. But I'll tell you what, I've been using some of my ball bearing swivels for well over 6 months. I do oil them occasionally, even though not much oil gets in there, but I do just for the hell of it. And they have been, I've yet to have one fail. No, that's not true. One time I had one fail on me, and it was not a big deal because I had 3 more in line, so, you know, it took up the slack, and it didn't even cause a hiccup. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause this for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and get set up, and then we are going to dive into the old tri-core alien. The next video I do might be a 6-core alien, or maybe we'll just do like a 4-core alien. I don't know, we'll see. I might try doing, I know a lot of you guys like series aliens, which I use 29 gauge nichrome 80 for. I'll use three cores of that, and I'll use 37 gauge nichrome 80 for my fuse wire. And if you get about 8 wraps on it, you know, you're looking at like 0.32, 0.33, something in that area. But maybe the next one we'll do a mixed alloy. We'll do like, I don't know, 2 outer cores. Maybe we'll do like 2 outer cores of 26 gauge nichrome 90, and then we'll do 2 inner cores of 28 gauge Canthal. That's awful nice too. It creates that Fralian effect, you know, where you've got that nice little deep ditch in the middle. And it'll, of course, bring the ohms up for those of you who like to vape your aliens on regulated devices, you know, 0.15 or above. I mean, since I use this parallel, I do everything at 0.08 or 0.09. So anyway, let me hit this. We'll pause it, and we will reset for build. Okay, so I've already made my decor here, but since I was talking about my little pre-made decor sticks, as you can see, I've got it hooked to that little dealio there. So I figured I would just kind of start a little decor for you, and you know, basically I've been putting it on a bobby pin, and then I just fold over a little bit. Then I'm going to pinch this with pliers and spin it a couple times, and that'll leave a nice little end sticking up, which I can then tie my wire to. So we'll go ahead and we will just run that for just a second, just so you guys can see what's up. For some reason it didn't appear like my camera was focusing real well. But anyway, when I do this, I leave about, say, quarter of an inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch there, and then I just go ahead and I spin it, and I go, let's see, I go clockwise because that's the way I'm going to decor. So there, I spun it 3 times, and then I'm going to bend this back like so, and there you go. Okay, So basically we just do that, and then we're gonna hitch up a little 36 gauge here. Give it a few turns around the old donkey punch. Sorry, I know I talk stupid. Alright, we are on clockwise, and as high a speed as this drill will go. And I do put a good amount of pressure on it. If you put too much pressure on your swivels, they will kind of bind up. So, I mean, it's okay to have them slack a little bit. If you slack them too much, then you'll wind up, you know, backing over your decor. So, here we go. Oh, and if you... Oh, look at that. My bobby pin's falling out. Aw, schniggles. Can't be having bobby pins falling out on me. I got a couple bobby pins that work great, and then I got a couple that aren't so good, and obviously this one ain't so good. But anyway, some folks like to use these, the beat-along tool, you know? You get your fuse going a little bit, and then you wrap this around the spool, and it basically holds it, the wire, the end of the fuse wire comes through, where is it? You can see it's been a while. That little V right there that was cut out of it, the little end of the fuse wire holds through that and sits up top, and then basically you can just one-hand it and hold the button and it'll do the perfect fuse for you. But honestly, if you've been building long enough to where you're going to be doing aliens, I got a pretty good feeling that you can do a darn good single core Clapton, okay? So, and besides, I don't know why, but I just like doing everything by hand if I can. It gives it a more, like, you feel accomplished, you know? So... And as you can see, I'm going right about 90 degrees, maybe 92 degrees. I'm leading it ever so slightly because you do want your decor fuse to be as tight as possible. And I'm holding this spool with see, I backed over it. That's alright. I'm not going to make a whole decor. But anyway, you want to be holding it with as little pressure as possible, because when you remove it from the decor or from your core stick, you don't want any tension on it. You want to be able to slide it right off. And usually when you're doing 26 gauge or 25 gauge or whatever, like some of my decors for my wide stuff, I use 22 gauge and 20 gauge. Those will slide right off. Now, if you're doing like 29 gauge or something, they don't want to slide off as easy. But what I'm going to do here, actually I may want, fuck it, I've had enough. We're going to stop right there, kids. This was just for demonstration purposes only. Alright, so, a little hitching your get along there. Alright, and what I do is I leave a little tail. I don't know if the camera, can you see that? There's a little tail sticking up right there. I usually leave it a little longer. The reason I do that is because that's the end I use. I'll show you when I put the cores in. I'll show you why that tail's important. So here's how you remove any tension, okay? Just lightly grab right there on the end. Don't pinch hard. Put the drill in the opposite direction and spin it for anywhere from 3 to 4 seconds. Okay? And I was pulling a little that way, as you can see. Oh, look, what is that? Oh, that's nice. I guess I got some doity pliers. That's why I wear junk shirts when I build. Alright, so now that we've done that, we'll go ahead and take this out, and we'll go ahead and we will cut off the junk here off of the bobby pin, and then just go ahead and as close as you can, just cut it right there. And then, because you did that reverse spin, whoop, slides right off. And now you got a nice little mini decor for something. I don't know what. Trash can. That's what. Alright, and the nice thing is, when you're done, you just remove your stick, and then you put it back in your pile there. That way, you're not having to use one of your cores for that. I mean, you can. It doesn't matter to me. Like, you know, you do whatever you want. I mean, I probably got about 12 different decor sticks over there because I do so many different size aliens. Now, when you got your 3 cores, it's very important because the ends will be a little wonky there. So you want to go ahead and just get rid of your ends, okay? The other ends are usually fine. Those ends there were the ones that came off the spool, like where it was, you know, the little slit in the spool, okay? Now, here's what I do. Because I'm not fancy, I don't have a drill chuck core holder, so I can't just go and stick all 3 of those in at once. And I have a rigid drill with a giant chuck, so it's not like I could take 1 core and stick it in there. So what I do is I go down about maybe a little more than a ½ an inch, okay? And then I just give it a nice 90-degree bend, and then I go boop, and I kind of pull it that way. Alright, now you got your 3. 1, 2, 3. And that is 1 for each chuck slot. Okay? Now, the reason I do that instead of putting them all in 1 chuck slot, there's a couple of reasons. One is it will keep it centered. Now, of course, when you're tightening your chuck, you still want to make sure it's relatively center, but basically by doing that, it will pretty much center it up itself, okay? Now, what I'd like to do here, let me see here if I can see. I don't have a tripod. I'm doing this completely ghetto. So, let's see. I'm hoping that you guys are going to be able to see this, okay? So what I do is what we talked about earlier. I put my 3 cores through that ring, alright? And I'm going to leave about 2 inches out. And then I'm just going to fold it over, okay? So now it's folded over like so. Can you see that? Okay. Now, I'm going to use just my fingernail, and I'm going to put my elbow on the drill to hold it so there's pressure. And then I'm just going to fold it under, okay? And fold it back around. So now, see, we're still like right in line there. Oh yeah, nice. That's good quality camera work. So now we're right in line, and then we're going to just fold it around there, okay? So now we're nice and tight, and as you can see right down at the end there, our cores aren't spreading out or doing anything stupid. Alright, now let's go back over here and we'll talk about this end, alright? Now, I am a huge proponent of Legos, and I use them for pretty much every build. I mean, every build. Okay? I use the 2x2 or whatever you want to call it block, the small one, for the beginning, and you'll see I'll slide that right up against the chuck, okay? Then I use these, the 4x2s, alright? This is going to be like my middle one. I mean, yes, you can go buy those patinas, core holders, or whatever they're called, alien makers. I mean, there's a lot of really good quality stuff. I'm not making fun of it at all. You know, if you can afford to get it, like, sure, it does make life a little easier. Here, let me move us down here a wee bit. But all I'm showing you is that, like, the same stuff can be done without all that. And, you know, there you go. So I just put those on. I'm going to slide this one down a little bit. And then this one, I'm going to slide right up to the chuck, okay? So now we're nice and smooth there. I'll probably even pull this one down a little bit. Now, if I'm doing like a 5 or 6 core or something like that, this one would be like here. I'd only work like an inch or two at a time. And that's something you'll have to learn to practice with, our stops and starts. Those will be your worst enemy at first. When you are alien fusing, you're not doing it at a straight 90. You're more like 97 degrees, maybe even 100. You're going, you know, you're leading it that way. When you stop, and then when you go to start again, your very first wrap, pull it slow, and don't lead so much. Maybe lead like 94 degrees or something, just for like 1 or 2 wraps. Then start leading it back again. I don't know the science behind it, but for some reason, if you go ahead and start leading out right away, it'll give you an uneven gap there. Now, I left these 3 tabs, or tongs, whatever, long, and remember I told you I was going to leave a little tail on the end there? Okay, here's why. Because we're going to take it and we are going to wrap it 4 times around ye old thingy. And I always cut these very short so that they don't get in the way, because we don't need that. And then what I do, I don't know, I hope you can see this, but what I do is I bend this tab forward about as far as I can. Okay, now this is attached firmly, right? So now when I go to stretch this, see, some people will use a clip like this. They'll hold the decor to a table, stretch it, then they got to tie the thing on there. I'm basically just saving you a step by doing that, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and pause this while I go ahead and stretch this decor. And the rule of thumb between stretching a decor is you basically want it to be a perfect spiral, okay? If you understretch it a little bit, that's okay. You can either, 1, stretch it more, or 2, you can actually just use a little more tension on your fuse fingers, and you can get it to fuse up that way. That works fine with 3 cores, maybe even 4 cores. You get higher in the number of cores, and they want to collapse, so then you really want to get your decor perfect. There's no real, there's nothing I can tell you other than practice. Like, you'll know when you got your decor right. But basically, the best I can say is you want to be able to look at it and have it look like a perfect spiral. You don't want it to be wavy like this, you know. You want it to be perfectly spiral. You want the space in between each one to be identical. So anyway, I shall pause and I shall return. We'll give you a quick glimpse of my awful, terrible build station. Hey, there's Pickle Rick. And just think, that vise was made in 1936. It's a 42-pound vise. And it works great for holding on to shit. Yeah. And then we got some ugly-ass blue lights back here that we can make change colors. I don't know. I really like LED lights, as you can kind of see. Alright. So, I'll be back. Okay, so we're back. Yes, I've changed clothes. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I am vaping, I don't know if I told you, I'm vaping on some juice I made. I was calling it like a frosty strawberry cereal. I actually had made some of that, and I made some strawvanilla custard, which is basically strawberry, vanilla custard, cake batter, sweet cream, Bavarian cream, yada yada yada. I actually took the two of those and mixed them together, which basically the cereal flavor really married well with the vanilla custard flavor, and I like it. Cake batter is usually dark, and vanilla custard is almost black, depending on who you get it from. There's another company that makes it where it's like kind of piss yellow, and actually they smell the same, but I don't know, the dark one I think just tastes a little bit better. And of course oh look, I'm over dripping. And of course I'm using my trusty Defiant Designs, like the only thing I ever use, ever. I recently had gotten Greg Steffens, the guy who designed this thing, who is a super awesome guy. And I mean, like, you need to go if you haven't ever tried one of these. This one is the 3 battery model. They're both parallel. There's a 2 and a 3 battery. And I mean, this one I think is about $90 or $95. And for an extra maybe $30 or something, you can get the all silver upgrade. And I mean, they upgrade everything, you know. They upgrade even these 4 little bolts that hold the top in. Of course, all the stuff on the bottom, all the contacts are upgraded. Even the threaded door that holds the squonk bottle in is upgraded. But when you take this off inside, there is a T-shaped bus bar that, you know, transfers the power. That's all silver. The spring inside is silver. Literally everything. Hell, even the 510 connection, which has a little pin and a bushing on the bottom of it, so that when you put the bottle in, you know, it doesn't leak. Even that thing is silver. So anything that's touching anything that would allow for voltage drop or whatever, no, it's all silver. I used to run, sometimes I'd run a .07 in this, and now I run either a .09 or a .10. I mean, occasionally, like if the build has got a lot of mass, I'll do a .08, but my go-to build is actually what we're building tonight, which is the 2636 Alien Nichrome 90. You know, that runs .09. It's like pretty relatively low mass, and because it's N90, it heats up quick, and the flavor on it is just amazing. And you know, it's a simple enough build to do. And yeah, I was thinking about my next video. I don't have any 22 gauge for a decor. I have some 28 gauge Canthal, and I wanted to do a 6-core 28 gauge, but the biggest or the smallest I have, or biggest I have, is 23 gauge, and that's just a hair too small. It might even work, but I think it would buckle the cores. So I was thinking about making a 5-core 28 gauge, decored with 23. And something you guys should know: when I'm doing 3 cores or whatever, I decore to the proper math, which is 1/3 your total size. So in other words, if you're going to use 3 cores of 26, you decore it on 1 core of 26. Now, however, if I'm going to do, let's say, 29 gauge, and I'm going to do 6 of them, right? 6 cores. The math calls for decoring on, I think, either like a 25 gauge, but I decore on a 23 gauge. The reason I do that is, 1, I understretch it a little bit, and it just makes it easier to work with over here, and 2, it gives it a better look, because the Alien, that S shape, you know, when you've got something that's just the right size, you do get some S shape, but not as much. But when you go like big time oversized, I've even gone as much as 3 gauges or sometimes even 4 gauges over, which is hard to work with because you need to have like Teflon pliers and pinch it every so often, or when you're done, the fuse will just want to fall right off the cords. But you'll get like a really nice full S for every one. But anyway, let me stop running my damn mouth, and I'm going to stretch this decor and we'll get to going here. Oh, and I watched my last segment, and I can tell the whole time I was telling you about this swivel down here. You know what? Let me just show you real quick. I was sitting here talking about this swivel, and here. And I said, oh, see how great it is? You can wrap it around. Well, you couldn't see it because it was just out of frame. But as you can see here, the 3 cores, they just wrap around right there. And then they continue on straight. And then all I did was I twisted the 3 pieces right around these little 3 threads right there. Thing doesn't want to focus very close up, does it? Focus closer, damn you. Anyway, you get the idea. It just seems to work better than the other kinds of swivels where I was actually having to wrap it this way around the swivel, and right here at the end, the last little inch would be kind of messy, which I never really use that anyway. But now it's just, you know, clean prep is always best. So, I mean, this way everything is clean all the way through to the old chuckaroony. Alright guys, here we go. Let's go do some decoring. Alright. Alright. Let's see. Yeah, that should be lined up good enough. Alright. I'll move the camera a little bit as I go that way. I mean, really, I need a better camera. I'm using a damn Samsung. It's the 10 Plus or whatever, the Note 10 Plus. I mean, it's like the best phone out, but it's no comparison for a real, like a DSLR camera. Be nice to just have a viewfinder so I could see what the hell I'm doing. Alright, let me hit my wonderful juice and then we shall get to move on. Oof, I overjuiced it, it went down my throat. I hope you guys enjoy some of my tutorials, you know, like if you do, of course, subscribe to us on YouTube at 420 Fozzie Bear, and you know, hit the little bell so you get notifications when things come up that are new. And yeah, I hope my silly chit chat in between building, you know, I hope it's lightening the mood and makes you want to keep watching. And I do hope that my my limited instructions are decent. Please feel free to comment, you know. I accept all comments. I don't delete comments if you write that I'm a big fat nasty pig and I don't know what I'm doing. That's fine. You know, you're entitled to your opinion. But I also appreciate constructive comments like, hey, it would be really neat if you spent more time showing us this or that, you know, or simple questions like, I don't know how to do this, can you show me? And I'll be glad to make a video for you, and I'll shout you out in it, and so on and so forth. Alright? I think I put a little too much sweetener in that juice, man. It's gonna freaking make my coils turn all crusty. Alright, I'm gonna yell and talk at you guys while I'm off frame here, and you can look at old Beethoven back there. Interesting story behind that. I'm a piano player, and when I was 12 years old, I won a really prestigious piano competition, and I won some good money. But in addition to that, my grandmother, who was a master at ceramics, she made that Beethoven bust for me, and here it sits unceremoniously in the garage. She's probably turning over in her grave. But now you know. Isn't there a guitar over there too somewhere? Somewhere there's a guitar over there. Oh look, more LED lights. Told you I liked LED lights. Actually, I use these blue LED lights for a reason over here. They help me to see my decor, how far I'm stretching it. And that right there, boy howdy, I think I almost overstretched that. It's on the verge. This was a short decor. It's because I was using that short stick of 26 that I was showing you guys earlier. And I was talking a big talk about how you really don't need to make them all that long. Well, you should make them a little longer than what I just made this one, I can tell you that for sure. It'll be okay. We'll get 2 5-wrap coils out of it, I think. But it's always good to have a little extra in case you mess up on your first few inches, which sometimes happens. Alright, so now we are stretched, and normally when I run a 3-core alien, I normally run the drill on fast, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run it on slow. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the little dots on the Legos to kind of catch this decor. And since I decored, or rather since I made my decor clockwise, it's imperative. The only way you can make an alien is if you then turn the drill opposite way. So whatever way you're most comfortable wrapping your fuse with, decor it in the opposite direction. So that way when you go to fuse it, you can fuse it, you know, counterclockwise in my case. I used to be more comfortable wrapping things clockwise, but I don't know why. But when I started making aliens, I started doing it the other way, and I found I liked it better. So see, I'm going to use these little dots. I'm going to let it catch, just like so. Okay, move my shit out of the way. And I find that holding it at least 8 or 10 inches away, the longer you hold it away, like, it seems the less mistakes you make. I'm not sure why. I think it gives the wire a little chance to stretch a little bit and so on. But yeah, do that. So now we're gonna go ahead, we make our first couple little wraps here and just make sure everything's kosher. It's all lining up all nice. And as you can see, I'm holding this with, oh, see, I fucked up already. I'm holding this with a decent amount of tension, not too much, but that one little boo-boo you see there, oh, look, 2 little boo-boos. That's because I'm not holding it with enough pressure. And if you feel your decor might be a little too short, you can always lead a little harder. You know, lead closer to 100 degrees rather than 97. The gaps in the spacing are really not noticeable. Okay, and then I always put my elbow on the drill when I slide the Lego down. It just keeps everything nice and tight. Nice and tight. Now let's go ahead and shift this down a wee bit. Hey, see? No tripod, no freaking good camera. This is like Survivor Man vape challenge. Alright, so now, I never try to let go of this decor line either. I always try to hold on to it so I keep my tension on my thumb and forefinger where I'm holding it about the same. But that's alright, we're going to start slow. And remember what I told you, you were leading about like this, but for your first couple wraps after you start and stop, you want to bring it back just a little bit. Otherwise you will get a funny space. So go slow, just for the first couple. Alright, and then you can go back to leading it. It'll take you a few tries with the starting and stopping. I mean, that was one of the harder things about it. Oh my gosh, do you see it? I see another little booger. I'm not holding it with enough tension again. I've been doing a lot of aliens where I've been fusing with like 38 and 39 gauge and stuff. So you can't hold those with very much tension or they'll stretch out. So this 36 feels like I'm holding a log in my hand. I probably should have not done a tutorial with something I haven't been working with lately, but hey, it's all good. That little boo-boo right there, if I just take a pair of pliers and just give it a little pinch, I mean, you'll never see it. And sometimes if you get lucky when you're wrapping your coil, it'll wind up being on the underside where the only thing that'll see it is the deck. Yeah, look at that. I'm almost out of decor already. I don't even think I am gonna get 2.5 wraps out of it. Maybe at 3mm, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I'll make them 2.5s. We shall see. Now, when it gets short, you want to hold it up here. And I hope you guys can still see. When you're holding it close, for some reason, it's really hard to get it to lay down as smooth. I don't really know why that is. So what I try to do is I try to leave it as long as I can until you get to like here, and then you're just gonna have to just bite the bullet and do it like this, and it is what it is. Usually this winds up either being excess or it's a lead, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, boo-boo, boo-boo, boo-boo. I completely bungled this one. Great tutorial there, Fozzie. Thanks for all the freaking help, dude. Yeah, that's looking mighty short. Alright. So, this part is pretty self-explanatory. When I use my flush cutters, I don't cut with the flat edge this way. I cut with the flat edge out. So that way what happens is when you cut right where your fuse starts, that angle in on the flush cutters kind of pinches down on it and keeps it from wanting to walk off on you. Now on aliens, usually it doesn't want to do that anyway. In fact, once you start doing aliens, you may even find that like fusing a 3-core alien is easier than fusing a 3-core fused Clapton or something. My theory on that is because the fact that the D-core is a spiral, as it's going around one side, that spiral is pushing the center core this way, and then as it comes around the other side, it's pushing the center core back in that way, thereby wanting to keep it from collapsing. Okay? So, I mean, except for that little ugly. I don't really think this camera is going to focus too close on it, but what I'll do is if I actually do get 2 5-wrap coils out of it, I shall take a photo for you. Now, generally, you can tell my swivels are getting a little bit old or they need oil, but generally you shouldn't have too many twists, at least not with a 3-core. Because aliens have one side where they have like a little dip in it, and then the other side there's, a hump. You always want to have the dip be on the outside of the coil, because I think that's part of the art of it. It helps the juice sit in that little channel. Man. This one's just hard to tell which one's which. Ah, there we go. Alright, dips on the other side. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I have a 2.75 millimeter driver here, and aliens tend to be a bit springy, and I'm going to wrap it kind of loose anyway, so it's going to be a 3 millimeter. But I probably, even with a 3 or even a 3.5, I probably would have got my 5 wraps out of this. But I just wanted to be safe. So here, I should be doing this closer so y'all can see it. Alright, there's wrap number 5. And then what I usually do is I usually do this. I like work it back and forth, and that way, because sometimes if you don't, like, you'll notice when you take it off, like, some of them will be up higher than others, and they just won't look quite right, okay? And of course, I've got it where one leg's out and one's bent down. I'm going to bend that one down just a pinch more, not too much. You want it just like that, okay? That way, when you use your pliers to bend the other lead up, they will be matching for the most part. Alright, and there you've got your one little lovely alien coil. Let's see, any boo-boos show up in there? Yeah, right there on the last wrap. See that little whoopsie daisy there? I mean, it happens. Like, obviously these aren't sellable, but as far as performance goes, I mean, that's certainly not bad enough to create a hot spot or anything. It's definitely workable, and so I would say just run with it, You'll find when you're making them that you, just like anything else, practice makes perfect. You will make mistakes, and just remember, like, if you make a couple little boo-boos like that, it's not the end of the world. It's still going to vape okay. If you're a super perfectionist, then you can throw it in your graveyard and start again. But me personally, when I'm selling them, it's totally different. Like those boo-boos there would instantly have gone in the trash. But because they are for personal use, and I know that they're not going to affect the performance, I'm not going to sweat it. I promise you I won't sweat it. Alright, so. Ooh, man, I did something to my neck yesterday, and like looking down like this, holy crap, my whole back and neck hurts. Jeez Louise, man. Alright, so there's your two aliens, and oh look, There's the second boo-boo. It's just god-awful. I'm very sorry. I'm ashamed. But the idea behind this tutorial was to show you some pointers on, you know, how to... Well, you saw the damn thing. You know what I mean. It's like 4 in the morning here. I'm tired. Alright, so that's that. And on that note, guys, I think that's all I got for you. So remember, subscribe to 420 Fozzie Bear. Click the bell so you'll get notifications. The next tutorial we'll do, like I said, it'll either be a 6-core 29 gauge or for higher ohm, it might be a 5 or 6 core 28 gauge Canthal cores, which will probably bring us up to around 0.16 or so. You know, like for those of you that want to vape a nice wide alien on a regulated device. So these are definitely Mech only. I mean, yeah, there are mods like the Aegis Legend that go down to 0.05, you know, and that's all fine and good, but like they also claim it goes to 200 or 220 watts, and I mean you only get, I think, 7 or 7.5 volts out of the batteries. Like basically when you do the math, there's no possible way at that low of an ohm that you're going to ever get 200 watts out of it. And in fact, you can do a little experiment. You can set it at, like, say 85 watts or something and hit it, and then turn it up to like 200 watts and then hit it. And one, you won't feel any difference, and two, if you look at the amount of voltage that it's drawing, it'll be the same exact number. So sorry folks, but all those 2 battery 200 watt mods that they make, nope. You ain't getting it. Alright, fellas and ladies, thanks for watching. It's been fun as always. And, yeah. Oh, and check out my Instagram. It's Fozzie's Coil Co. At Fozzie's_coil_co. A lot of great coil photos on there. That's where you contact me if you want to purchase coils from me. I promise they won't have little boo-boos in them. Right now, through the weekend, I'm running a super sale where, like, you'll get, hell, for, like, 3 sets of 3 cores, you'll get them for $20 shipped, plus I'll throw in a 4th set for free. For 3 sets of 4 cores, I think it's $22. For 3 sets of 6 core, I think it was $25. And I'll throw in a free set of 3 core with each one of those, and that price includes shipping and tracking. So I mean, if you want to get 4 sets of triple core aliens, like N90 aliens that'll ohm around 0.13, or if you want to do the N90s for mechs, that'll be 0.09. 4 sets for $20, man. I don't think you're gonna beat that. So remember, DM me at Fozzie's_coil_co, or just send a comment here on this YouTube video and tell me you want to get up with me, and we'll do some business. Alright, y'all. Keep on vaping. Peace.